Neri Zilber, who's an Israel affairs analyst and adjunct fellow at the Washington Institute. He joins us now from Tel Aviv. Really good to have you with us, Neri. We know that this trial has been a long time coming, especially Yair Lapid's testimony. Firstly, remind us what this trial is about exactly. I mentioned it involves that Hollywood producer, also an Australian billionaire.
That's right. So the Netanyahu corruption trial, as it's known, it's actually three distinct cases. So case 1000 that you mentioned with the Hollywood producer Arnon Milchan and the Australian billionaire James Packer is just one of three cases. That one case is favor trading, essentially, between Netanyahu, allegedly, and these very rich supporters of his, getting gifts and other assorted goodies in return for regulatory breaks and other favors that he ostensibly did for these rich individuals. And then the other two cases, quite similar, favor trading or alleged bribery with a leading publisher here in Israel. And then thirdly, another media mogul that Netanyahu alleged was trying to pursue various regulatory breaks via legislation in return for positive coverage in that media mogul's online outlet. So all told, Netanyahu is facing charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. And like you mentioned, this trial started several years ago, and it's really hard to say, but it might even just be at the midway point. So it's expected really to last at least another year or two, and that's even before Netanyahu likely will appeal to the Supreme Court. So this is nowhere near done.
And Yair Lapid was finance minister under Benjamin Netanyahu at the time of these allegations against Netanyahu. Tell us, what has Yair Lapid said in his testimony so far? Because he is, of course, providing testimony for the prosecution. So that assumes that these prosecutors believe he has evidence against his former boss.
That's right. So it really revolves around the relationship of Netanyahu and Lapid with Arnon Milchan, the Hollywood producer. And so in that case 1000, in the first case, Netanyahu is alleged to have received hundreds of thousands of dollars of champagne, jewelry, and other gifts by Milchan in return for various benefits that Netanyahu alleged to have provided Milchan, primarily a visa to the U.S., but not only. There was a law that was passed over 10 years ago called the Milchan Law, which would have given tax breaks to people like Milchan that are, quote unquote, returning Israeli citizens. They don't have to pay taxes for about a decade. And so that allegation is what Lapid was addressing in his testimony this morning. He was essentially being probed as to that law and his relationship with Milchan. And Lapid basically said, look, Milchan approached me, but I brought it to the legal advisors, and I wasn't that much in favor of passing this law. Netanyahu saw it quite differently and eventually pushed and passed that quote-unquote Milchan law. So essentially, Lapid had the same type of relationship with Milchan, but didn't actually provide any benefits to the mogul. Netanyahu had that close relationship, received benefits and gifts from Milchan, and actually passed that law in favor of Milchan. That's essentially the graft that was alleged to Netanyahu to have committed.
Well, Neri, as you say, it is a very complex trial, several cases at the same time, but thank you so much for shedding some light on them for us on TRT World.